Hi guys, so happy to be here. I'm glad I got the before lunch spot, and also following up on Mark's presentation. Hopefully I can keep your interest. So a little bit mysterious, I don't have my title below my name, and there's a reason why. But I'd love to go into a little bit of background about me so you get to know me before I tell you all what you should and shouldn't be doing on social. So I started at BuzzFeed 6 years ago. The website was very small, 20 people. It was the Wild West of the internet. And we were experimenting, trying different things. And we decided that to monetize the site, we needed to do something different. We didn't want to bombard people with banner ads, really ruin the experience of what they were getting when they were coming to the site. So we decided to make our product something native, something organic, something that would resonate with people when they were on the site. Instead of disrupting them and making them click off of boxes to actually see the content that they came to see, we decided to create a story with the brand. And that was challenging. So at first, brands didn't understand what social was. They didn't understand that they could actually incorporate themselves in the stories that they were telling. They asked, where's my rich media unit? Where's my 300 by 20 banner ad? And we told them, no, the way that you reach people is through telling an authentic story that's true to your brand. So we did that at BuzzFeed, and it became a successful medium. Brands eventually started to adapt to that style of advertising. But the interesting thing is that 6 years later, some brands still don't get it, and Mark touched on this. So I'm going to be going through some of the reasons why they don't, some of the things to think about when you're creating content for bespoke audiences, and what people are looking for. And now I'm currently at a company called Cheddar, and Cheddar is a show geared towards Facebook Live. So we broadcast live from the stock exchange, talking about tech, media, finance companies that millennials actually care about. Who's jump-starting the industries? Who's the next Uber? That's what we're focusing on in a way that is engaging and playing with a new medium. So without further ado. One minute. One more minute. There we go. So the new social voice, right? Of developing your brand in an ever-evolving social landscape. How do you do that? How do marketers create a bespoke, cohesive strategy for the contents that they're creating, for the platforms they're creating content for? And in the age of social, carving out that unique, authentic voice is more important than ever in reaching your audience, especially when getting people to engage with your content. How do you build something that's engaging that also resonates with your audience? So tone, target, and platform. These are the new pillars that you have to think about when creating content. And by tone, I don't mean just, are you happy? Is it a happy tone? Is it satirical? I mean, what do you stand for as a brand? Take Red Bull, for instance. Red Bull isn't just an energy drink. They're a media company, challenging people to be the best that they can be, to challenge themselves to their next adventure. And that's what they stand for, and that's their message, and that's how they spread it throughout the social sphere. And when you think about a Purina, sure, they sell dog food, they sell cat food, but what they talk about is the relationship that people have with animals, and that's what makes them powerful. That's what makes their message powerful and makes it resonate. And platform. Platform is more important than ever. So with the abundance of social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Vine, Pinterest, every brand wants to be everywhere, but what they don't understand is you can't just take a message and ship it out and expect it to actually resonate with the entire audience. But at a very high level, determining why you do what you do and not just what you do and what you sell is really important in helping you craft your message. And for your target, you're not going to reach everyone. Your one message is not going to be seen by every single person. So crafting it and making it as bespoke as possible is going to generate the best outcome. And this is the new content equation. These are all the things that you have to think about when creating a marketing campaign, when creating a piece of content. Even as an individual, what I think about. And why is this so important? Because social isn't linear. Think 10 years back when the New York Times had one method of distribution. They print the paper, they drop it off at your doorstep, and that's distribution. There was no thought about how is this going to spread? How are we going to spread our message? Magazine stores, you go, you pick up the magazine, and that's it. It's very linear. There's a beginning and an end point. And in social, that is not the case at all. For them, how it spread was an afterthought. And now, in this day and age of social, it's everything. It's the most important thing you can think about. So when you think about building content, it starts with thinking about how it's distributed. And content's distributed by people. So 50%, you're thinking about the idea. The idea has to be solid. It has to be a very great representation of your brand, what you do, what you stand for. But that's not the only thing you have to think about. You have to think about how it's going to be distributed. Who's going to see this content, and how are they going to see it? The idea is nothing without the distribution. And social distribution is reaching people where they are through a bespoke experience. So with the abundance of all of these social platforms, people expect a customized experience everywhere they are. So one message is not going to resonate across every social network. And if the content doesn't fit organically into the platform and the stream where people are, then it's not going to resonate. And too many brands will try to make their media dollars work the most for them by making one really expensive piece of creative and just throwing it everywhere. And that's just not the way you need to do things anymore. You need to create a ton of very small, micro pieces of content and have them be bespoke for the platforms that you're creating for. And knowing what works on different platforms is also very important. So choosing the right container is also everything. Think about all of the different formats you have. You have GIFs, long-form articles, videos, design, short-form, long-form video, photo. And all of these mediums are not, containers are not transferable across every single platform. If you see a GIF on LinkedIn, it doesn't fit the narrative of that platform. So being very careful about the container you're using, how you're using it. On Snapchat, the video has to be vertical. It's not going to work. And social and mobile are the new distribution channels. People are consuming content on their mobile devices. In the US, 2 out of 3 minutes are spent on mobile devices. So we are, at BuzzFeed, we were a mobile-first company. And you have to be mobile-first when you're thinking about how you're actually going to be distributing your content. People aren't going to be looking at it on desktop. So if it's not formatting correctly, if it's taking too long to load, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And the way people share, it's evolving. This post from Nino, he shared a post about the fact that Snapchat is now bigger than Twitter, which is very interesting. But this is the traditional way you would share. Think about how you shared things 5 or 6 years ago on Facebook. Were you sharing where you were with your friends, what you were doing? Were you in high school sharing a song lyric? Now people are sharing news. They're sharing things that are really important. I mean, I don't visit websites anymore. I get all of my news through my social feeds. So sharing has definitely evolved. So on Facebook, what we're seeing is people are sharing news stories, but on mediums and platforms like Instagram, they are sharing things by tagging other people in the content, which is a very interesting thing. I mean, when you're thinking about how someone is going to find your content, no longer do you have to physically share that out. You can't do that on Instagram. So how is someone else going to see that you're going to tag them in it? So sharing is evolving, especially with all of these new platforms, technologies. And taking notice of these key patterns in sharing and the way we create it helps us determine how we distribute it. And the question behind all of this, right, is what makes people share content? So take a few seconds and think about the last thing you shared, whether it be on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat. What are you sharing? You all thought about it? OK. Well, the big reveal is that there's no major secret or reason behind why people share. It's really about connection and human truths. That's why people are compelled to share. It has to mean something to you and touch you in a way where you feel compelled enough to spread the message or to tag a friend or a family member. Does anyone know what this is? You can shout it out. You know? So this picture may not mean something to many of you, but for me, this was a daily struggle growing up. Now we have laptops, so I don't have to worry about it. But so this is what happens when you are a left-handed person and you are writing with graphite pencils. Your left hand gets kind of covered in graphite. So this is identity. This is why people share. So I might share this post that relates to my daily life as a way of saying, take a peek at what I have to deal with, what my struggles are on a daily basis. And in the same way, my friends may actually share this with me because they know that I'm left-handed, and they want to say, I can relate to you. I feel what you're going through by looking through this post. I'm connecting with you. So people share content that they see themselves in or they know that someone can identify with. They want to share content where they see themselves. And it's telling their story in a novel way. I say that we live in a that's so me generation. When you see yourself in something or you see a friend in something, you immediately want to share that with them. These are some of the other things. So I might share this post as a daily way of giving you a peek into the life of what it looks like when I'm using a scissor or an ice cream scoop, or the fact that nothing is made for left-handed people. Anyone know what this is? I'm sure you all have tried to dunk the cookie and it's gotten stuck in the milk. Struggle is really real. So this is emotion, and whether it be joy, inspiration, or even outrage, people share content that acts as an emotional gift. A sort of, this made me feel a certain way, and I want to share that with you. And just to be clear, the emotion portrayed above is rage. And sharing cute animal content, right? That's not just about sharing a picture of a cute cat. It's feeling an emotion at the same time as someone else. And that's powerful. When my friend is upset, I know that the only thing that will cheer her up is sharing pictures of cats with tiny hats on them. But it's not just about that. I'm sharing the heartwarming feeling that you get from experiencing that emotion together. And something very interesting, so after the Orlando tragedy, I noticed that my newsfeed was not only filled up with news stories about that event, but it was also filled up with all of these heartwarming posts about this woman who was surprised with kittens. The teacher was surprised with kittens after they died. I saw posts about things that will restore your faith in humanity. All of these heartwarming things were filling my newsfeed, and it was powerful. People were sharing these to connect with each other and make each other feel better during a time where there was nothing positive going on. And that's the way that we connect socially. That's the way that we can influence each other and help each other through content. Another thing that you might know, you may not know, that's actually the correct way to eat a Tic Tac. So you've been doing it wrong your entire life. That's also the correct way to eat a cupcake. Been doing it all wrong. So information shares extremely well. Learning is a fundamental human desire, and people don't just enjoy to learn, they also enjoy sharing what they've learned with other people. Saying, hey, look, I figured this out. You've been doing all these things wrong your entire life. So information is very powerful. And according to this post, I've been pretty much doing everything wrong my entire life. And this image, aspiration. So we all aspire to do different things. We aspire to plan events, to really kind of, who are we, who do we want to be later in life? And aspiration is the crux between identity and information. Taking who you want to be and applying that with the information to achieve a visually compelling and approachable way. This is DIY, this is lifestyle, this is the content that you see perform well on Pinterest. So the 4 questions, right? When you're creating a piece of content. Is the content human? Is it human? Is it relatable, and is it relevant? And does it reach people where they are? Is the message being spread on the right platforms? Very important when creating something. And constantly when I'm creating content for a brand or for myself, I ask myself this. Like, these are the core things that will make a piece of content resonate. And next we have to look at where the content will live. if you're hyper-focused on content design for Pinterest for a brand, and you see their audience is spending the bulk of time on Pinterest, the content is going to be very different than the content that you're going to be creating for Facebook. Facebook is identity-driven, live, information. That's what you're seeing on Facebook. So something that's completely aspirational doesn't really fit there. And on Pinterest, GIFs, funny articles, that's not the content that's trending. So you really need to be mindful of what's performing and working on each of these platforms before creating a message. And if we wanted something that's a strong performer across all platforms, choose emotion. Emotion resonates everywhere. It's just the way that you pivot and kind of change that message to make sense for those platforms. And content gives people the ability to curate the world, to curate themselves, and to really show people who they are. I'm not the same person, well, I am, but not on LinkedIn, that I am on Twitter, that I am on Instagram. I curate my feeds in a very different way. So you see a very well-rounded picture of me when you look at everything that I do, but everything is different because it's catered to a different audience. I know that pictures of me and my boyfriend will not be as engaging on Twitter as they would on Instagram or on Facebook. Facebook is all about me. It's who I am as a person. It's a peek into my life beyond just work. Twitter for me, is work. It's who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm excited about that's coming up, marketing my companies. That's what Twitter is for me, connecting with great people. And Instagram, I'm just a huge foodie, so it's all dedicated to food. So knowing your voice is just as important as understanding your audience. If you're having a conversation through content, voice is key. Voice is the determining factor of success. You need to be true to both yourself, your message, and your audience. Never neglect your audience. So lost in translation. So I don't know how many of you know or heard of the word bae. A very popular term in millennial slang for romantic interest. But look at these brands. They kind of just latch on to this term. We have to start using bae. McDonald's tweeting, we think you're bae, Allie, or bae, you do you, bae. AT&T, Whole Foods. They are really muddling their message. Millennial slang is disconnected from all of their existing creative strategies, and it looks desperate and like they're pandering to an audience where it's really not connecting. So your message and the way that you construct your message is equally as important. So what if your message is, last night I got drunk? How would you tailor that for different audiences? You can still interact with people, you just in a fun and engaging way. You just have to think about how you're doing it. So these are some text messages you might send if you were drunk. But the top one, that would go to grandma. Mom. And you could tell your best friend you're hungover. But it's all about taking that one message and then breaking it down for the people that you're trying to reach. And making an impact. Once you've created a voice and you've really outlined how you do that well, an example is at BuzzFeed we worked with Target, and we wanted to create an April Fool's joke. So we created this fanny basket that we attached to ourselves and walked around Target, and we created a satirical post on it, and it was an April Fool's Day joke. And what ended up happening is that people loved it. We were very transparent that it was by BuzzFeed and Target, and the comments we started to get were, oh my God, this is going to be life-changing for people with disabilities and people with young children. Target, you're so in tune with your consumer. And we're like, oh shit. In 2 weeks, we have to tell everyone that this was a joke and Target's not making this. So when you make an impact, you actually have to decide what to do next. So we called an emergency meeting and we said, listen, you can either produce 200,000 of these baskets, or you can actually just let your consumer down easy, let them know that you're thinking about them and that this will play a role in your marketing in the future. And they chose that. Manufacturing 200 baskets in a week wasn't exactly feasible, but it's all about then taking that to the next step. Once you make an impact, what do you do with it? And applying this to what comes next. So the landscape is changing rapidly. Snapchat, Facebook Live. the focus on live content now and changing the pre-planned aspect of what actually you can control is changing. Live and Facebook are, Live and Snapchat are the new reality. When you think about what Kim Kardashian and Justin Bieber and the Mount Everest climbers are doing on Snapchat, they're replacing reality television. I mean, Kim Kardashian getting 2 million views on a Snap story. By the time you watch the show, everything has been discussed already. There's no fake drama, no theme song, just real, raw documentary reality. And it's very important when brands are getting into this space to realize that this is reality. There's nothing that's pre-planned here, which is why many of them are afraid to do it. And live and subscription are the new cable channels. People are moving away from TV, and there's a gold rush. So you're seeing brands desperately try to figure out who they are on these platforms. You see Fortune magazine stapling in orange. You see Hasbro dressing up in giant suits, slapping a game that looked like a very weird acid art project. But there's a gold rush to figure out what is going to succeed in live. And rebooting these formats for people under 50 is a big opportunity because they're not watching TV. They've cut the cord with cable. They're tuning into live. They're on Netflix. They're on Hulu. They're not watching these primetime shows anymore. So there's a massive opportunity. And at my new company, Cheddar, we're reinventing business for live and on demand. We are talking about the companies that people want to hear about in a way that's targeted just for them. We're creating a voice. We're putting money into the production aspect of live because we believe in it. We believe in the future of being able to interact with your shows in real time at the time that you want to see them. And we're seeing massive live audiences after only a week, 68,000 to 115,000 live viewers on our shows. That's huge. That's bigger than cable already. So when you're thinking about the future and you're thinking about all of these new mediums, you need to know your audience, know where they are, establish a unique voice. It's more important than ever to getting the message across. So be human, be relevant, be relatable, and that's it. Thank you.